second here. All right, 1 second here. Oops. Oh. All right, 1 second here. All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. A question came in, interesting question, and that is Dybbuk. Question was, is a person someone who is someone possessed by a Dybbuk? See what that is in a second. Where's my question? Someone's possessed by demons or shandalits. Call them shandalits instead of saying shadim, demons. Yeah, it's a real thing. Is it a real thing within Orthodox Judaism, or is it just mental illness? And second part of the question is, can a person prove being possessed is a real thing? So what is a Dybbuk in general? Dybbuk is, let's say, person dies. No offense, everyone's going to die at some point. Person dies, normally what happens, soul goes up, the soul's going to get judged, right, for everything it did. So there's going to be all these angels going to testify for what they did, in public and private, their thoughts, all kinds of things. So what's going to happen? What should happen is that soul, if it merits it, should be allowed to go to Gehenna. Gehenna is a place where the soul gets fixed because of all the imperfections, because of all the sins. Right? So all things being equal, everyone most likely, if they don't suffer enough in this world, they'll end up in Gehenna. So that's a good thing. Why? Because the soul's going to get cleansed. If there's anything left of it. Soul gets punished for whatever it did. Now, different ways you can get punished is not really the point. The idea is the soul is going to get cleansed. And after the soul gets cleansed, say the soul's there 11 months, 12 months. I mean, if it's really bad, could be there longer. But in general, most people probably not that bad, not that evil. So even if they did things wrong, they're not going to, as Kaufman would say, go poof. They're not going to get all their, they're not going to get totally destroyed, right? Because most people are not that evil. Even if they do things wrong, they could do terrible things. Yeah, they may get judged severely. But most people will not get, their soul will not get totally obliterated. Some will, right? I'm not going to say no one will. I mean, there are cases of that. There are cases of, people get totally destroyed. They don't have a portion of the world to come, right? So Gehenna doesn't help. But for most people, again, it should help. Okay. So now, what's a Dybbuk? So a Dybbuk is a soul that does not, for whatever reason, doesn't get judged to go to Gehenna. So really, what is this soul? This soul is getting chased by angels of destruction, right? According to Islam, according to Kabbalah, getting chased by angels of destruction. Now, what does this soul try and do? Soul obviously tries to run away. Right? That's what the soul does. Right? That's exactly what that's what the soul does. Soul is going to run away. Soul 100%. Soul is going to run away. Yeah. Now, where's soul going to go? Where's it trying to hide? Yeah, so it's going to try and run, different parts of the universe, this, that. But what can happen? The soul comes back to this world. But the problem is, we mentioned many times, the soul cannot live in this world by itself. In other words, it has to be in something. We saw before, mentioned, I think last week, by the quote-unquote fallen angels, these feelings that the Torah in Genesis speaks about. So the angels claim, we would never sin. Why'd you give the Torah to man? We'd never sin. They said in front of God. God says, fine, I'll put you in a body. I'll put you in a body. And what happened? They said they sinned. How could an angel sin? How is it possible for an angel to sin? Seemingly impossible. Why? Because they're doing God's will. What's the problem? We mentioned last week. What's the problem? They're in a body. Once the soul goes in the body, what happens? Gets trapped by the body. Right? The soul, in order to shine, has to be in the spiritual world, not physical world. The soul will never shine as it's supposed to be in this world. Why? Because it's trapped by the body. Even if the soul is such an illuminated soul, and you have righteous people, very, very righteous people, Torah giants, yeah? They're human. They're not a pure soul. Right? Why do I say they're not a pure soul? Because again, in order for the soul to shine the way it should, the Ramchal says in Derech Hashem, it has to be in the soul world. In this world, it's not going to shine the way it should. What does that mean? Whatever you want it to mean. Yeah? Seemingly what it means is there's a certain, there's a certain shine, certain glow, certain things that the soul can do, not in this world. Why can't it do it in this world? Because it's trapped by the body. And there's always a struggle between the soul and the body. And there are times the soul loses out. Because if the person does the right thing, does what God says, so you elevate the soul, you elevate the body. If the person does the wrong thing, you debase the soul, you debase the body. Right? Constant struggle. That's what the Ramchal says for a person's entire life. Entire life till they die. Constant battle. That's what Adam and Eve did. They ate from the tree. They brought evil from outside, inside, in their body. So Adam had a great idea. If I do the right thing, exponentially, I get rewards. If I do the wrong thing, God forbid, exponentially, I get punished. Okay. God says, great idea. One problem. God says you're a heretic. What do you mean I'm a heretic? Adam, the closest thing as we know is a pure soul in this world. So why does God call him a heretic? What's the purpose of calling him a heretic? Because he didn't listen. God gave him one command. He didn't listen. He thought he knew better. God said, I agree with you. You put evil inside, you overcome evil. Yeah, exponentially, your soul gets stronger. Right? Your body gets stronger to fight against the evil. Very good. You do the wrong thing, exponentially gets worse. Okay. So God agrees. God 100% agrees. That's true. It's 100% true. God said I didn't create the world for them. God went to plan B. He knew he's going to have to go to plan B. What's plan B? Death. Death, not a Jewish concept. Mentioned that many times. Totally not a Jewish concept, but that's what happened. All right, that's all the Ramchal explained in Derech Hashem. Now, the question is, what happens? This soul is running for its life. Totally running for its life. So now it comes back to this world. Problem is, what's the soul going to go into? How is the soul going to hide from these angels of destruction? How is it going to hide? Or she, or it. How is it going to hide? We'll be non-binary here. How is it going to hide? How is it possible? What's the soul going to do? So the soul will try and find another body to go into. And it basically will take, there's another soul in that body. But essentially, what does the soul do? The soul goes in. Enough room in the body for two souls, probably more. Right? The other soul, wherever it is, and this soul now takes over. Now the person speaks, going to speak through that soul. That's what happens. That's what happens with a Dibbuk. Yeah, so you have to do what we'll call an exorcism. It needs great rabbis full of Kabbalah, full of, Jewish mysticism, get this soul out there. Certain criteria, certain things they have to do, try and get the soul out. Yeah, in order that the soul, gets out of the body, and this other soul should be able to come and take over. How all that works? Good question. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what a Dibbuk is. That's essentially what a Dibbuk is. Now, first question is this a real thing? Yes. There have been, few cases in history where, they had to get the soul out. One time, there was a soul time of the Chofetz Chaim. As the story goes, talking about early 1900s. Yeah, late 1800s. Yeah, so the Chofetz Chaim, it was during time when he was alive. So the rabbis, speaking to the soul, trying to get it out of the body, and what they do. So they said, listen, if you don't get out of this body, one of the things the soul cannot stand, or a Dibbuk in general, is absolute holiness. It's a thing that, would drive it bonkers. But it's now safe in the body, but you have to get out of the body. You have to get out of the body. There's another soul in that body, obviously. You can't have two souls in one body. Right? So you have to get the soul out, and hopefully, it'll get its true judgment. It won't get destroyed by these angels of destruction. So the rabbis trying different ways to get the soul out. Soul's like, I'm not budging. I'm not leaving. Yeah. So what they do? They came up with an idea. They said they know these type of souls do not like absolute holiness. So they threaten the soul and they say, listen, if you don't get out of this body, right, we're going to give you a certain amount of time to leave this body. If you don't sleep at night tonight, that's not my fault. Someone asked the question. Yeah. So what happened? They said that if you don't get out of this body, we're going to bring you the Chofetz Chaim. Or bring the Chofetz Chaim to you, either way. Yeah. Whatever version it was. And there's a whole tumult. There's a whole tumult now. The soul's like, no, don't bring the Chofetz Chaim. Because when there's too much holiness, it flees. Right? It's going to leave the body. Totally leave the body. Can't stand absolute holiness. Tell me it's a soul. Yeah, but obviously it's a corrupted soul. Obviously, it did terrible things in order not to get properly judged for whatever reason. I mean, normally we say no one's that bad. They'll get judged and end up in Gehenna, and go through this process of cleansing process. That's true. For whatever reason, this soul did not have the merit for such a thing. Did not have a merit for such a thing. So this soul in general, big trouble. But again, you bring, Chofetz Chaim was known as the most righteous of that generation. You bring someone that righteous, the soul can't stand it, right? So you're going to say, okay, explain it. Explain it in our terms. So I'll give an example. There are certain people in the world, certain people, Jews, non-Jews, doesn't matter, male, female, doesn't matter, that absolutely hate religion. Any type of religion. They don't want to be around religious anybody. Why? They don't like it. Whatever reason. Anyone who comes near them that's religious get all tense. They totally get tense. They can't hack it. Why? Because of what they represent. That person, however they dress, doesn't matter. They don't even have to open their mouths. They don't have to say one thing. All they have to do, is dress up like they would normally dress, looking however they look, right? Let's say they look like an Orthodox Jew, right? So Person wearing a suit, white shirt, yarmulke on the head, tzitzis, a hat, right? It makes them want to vomit. Why does it make them want to vomit? Because they don't like what it represents, right? Anyone know people like that? I know plenty of people like that. They don't like being around religious people. A religious person doesn't have to say anything. They could be, they could be sweet as pie. They don't want to be around them because of what they represent. They might not be the holiest of people. Doesn't matter. The fact that they represent something that they detest, they don't want anything to do with, because they don't want people to say, "Oh, you're putting me down. You think my lifestyle is this?" I didn't say anything. I mean, it's true. I think that, but okay. I didn't say anything. You want to dress that way, you want to act that way, it's your choice. But why are they upset? Because of what you represent. Right? So now comes a spiritual soul that's totally corrupt, or that is very corrupt when it comes to holiness. When it comes to holiness, does not want to hear anything. Yeah, you bring holiness closer to it, it shudders, shrieks, wants to do anything to get away from it. The rabbi said, "You don't get out of this body." Maybe they should have said it first. They tried other ways. They said, "Listen, you don't get out of this body, we bring you to the Chofetz Chaim. We're going to bring you to the Chofetz Chaim." And eventually, the soul ended up leaving because they didn't want to be part of it. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. Yeah, so that's like somewhat of a comparison. Now, there have been a few cases in history. I mean, it's not really common, right? It's not so common, right? It's something that exists. The Ramchal speaks about it in Derech Hashem. It's Kabbalah, but it exists, right? So the first question is it a real thing? Yeah. Is it a real thing? Or is it mental illness? No. Listen, people speak in tongues, so to speak. Yeah, that's nuts. Ain't nothing happening with that, right? So that's fake. That's fake. We understand. I asked somebody once. I had a student once. On that. And that, so I asked them, just tell me, I'm just curious, what was it like? What was it like speaking in tongues? I said, "Rabbi, it's a different world. I'm not going down there." I said, "Listen, I won't tell anyone." I said, "If you tell me not to tell anyone, I won't tell anyone." I said, "I'm just curious, like what is that experience like?" It's a sham. That's what it is. Unless they're using sorcery or other things, but whatever, it's a whole sham. The whole thing is a sham. So, is it a real thing? Yeah. It's not mental illness. There have been some cases in history. There was a case, I don't know, a while ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, somewhere in the States, or it was even before that. I think it's even before that. And this Dybbuk started saying certain things that needed to be verified. And when they were verified, it uprooted a number of marriages. So, I might have heard this third hand, fourth hand, whatever it was. I know a number of people know this story. I've heard this story. So they could create havoc. They could, they know things because they know things. They're souls, right? So they have other information. They have other information. So any of the rabbis that were there trying to get this soul out, they're proof. They're proof. The person themselves with that other soul will never, they're not gonna remember it. So the person really can't say, "Yeah, I went through it." Right? As far as I understand, they're not gonna have any recognition. Right? Because the second part of the question is, can a person bring proof that being possessed? Or can a person prove it? So again, if a soul, let's say, goes into a woman's body, let's say. Now that soul starts speaking like a man, not a woman, or definitely not the same voice as a woman. That's proof. Not the same person. Totally not the same person. Yeah. So anyone who was part of it, who saw it, know it's true. Can they bring proof? Well, I mean, what proof do you want? It's kind of hard to bring proof on a spiritual thing. The person talking, it's not the person's voice. It's not their voice. it's somebody else, and they have other information that this person couldn't have known, so anyone trying to get rid of the soul, they can say, this is what we saw, right? This is what we heard. This is what we heard. Now, someone can say, they could be making it up, they could be lying. So, one thing I want to mention about that is, if people in general normally believe, if you know a person to be a liar, and they want to give testimony, because one of the things I teach when I go up north is about giving testimony. So if you're known to be a liar, they won't accept your testimony. If you've done certain sins, unless you repented, they won't accept your testimony. Right? They'll totally not accept your testimony. But all things being equal, if you have no reason to think the person did anything wrong, right? There's no evidence. So what happens? The person's reliable. No reason why I think he's not reliable. Now, if the person said things that are heretical, or things that just, go against what Orthodox Jewry stands for, what the Torah stands for, then you call in a question. Because this comes to light, what happens, a person's a Jew. So you can say, well, anyone can say they're a Jew. You need proof? No. Why don't I need proof? Right? How do you know your mother's Jewish? Because her mother was Jewish. I don't know her mother was Jewish because her mother was Jewish. Then a rabbi knows 5 generations, knew 5 generations of my family. Okay. But if there was a quasi conversion somewhere along the way, on my mother's side, that would call in question their Judaism. But if I don't have any reason to think there's a problem, then why would I say there's a problem? There's no reason to think so. Right? Some people will say, we don't have clear-cut proof. I don't need clear-cut proof. The onus is on somebody else to prove that I'm not. Right? Let that sink in. In other words, if a person says that they're a Jew, they didn't say they converted. They say they converted, it's a whole other story. Do you believe them? Do you don't believe them? Where do they convert? Whatever, number of questions. But if a person in general says, I'm a Jew, someone wants to question them, they could say, okay, is your mother Jewish? They could question it. They say, yes. Well, is her mother Jewish? Yes. Were any conversions? No. Any conversions way back? None that I know of. Right? Someone wants to go to a, what do you call it? They're going to get married. So they go in front of a rabbi, right? So they're going to ask them about lineage in general. If they're not any questions, they're never going to ask. They don't need to ask. Why don't they need to ask? Because we don't assume anything happened. We only assume something happened if there's a question. What's the question? Maybe there was a conversion way back when. If all things being equal, there's no such thing, it never happens. And through the mother's line, there's no evidence to show that they're not Jewish, then there's no reason to suspect that they're not. Unless there's some sort of evidence to show that there's a question. People will say, but what if you don't know the lineage? Even if you don't know the lineage, it's something that is known, unless someone hid it. Like, by the, what do you call it? By the Bnei Anusim. Right? People came from Spain and that hid their Judaism. And now they're basically non-Jews. Right? Or they have Jewish blood, let's say. Whether they can prove it or not, different issue. So there's a question, serious question. If there's intermarriage, and then the mother's not Jewish, or the grandfather, but you go back down the line and you see there are issues, so they have to go through conversion, most likely. Unless they can prove it. But that we have doubts. That we have serious doubts. If I don't have a serious doubt, if I don't have any doubts, Why am I going to look for problems? I remember one of my daughters got married, so they're filling out the ksuva. So they're filling out my name. So I gave my name. I said, well, it could be like this, could be like that. The rabbi just looked at me. It's like, I don't want any problems. Don't make me any problems. You're gonna say you did that on your daughter's wedding. I said, come on, it's all fun, right? They said, don't make me any problems. Said it in a nice way. Big smile for the camera. Yeah, don't make any problems. So, gave my name, no problems. Why are there no problems? Because there are no problems. There are no issues. There are no skeletons. Now, if something would come up, found out way back, great grandmother on my mother's side had a conversion. There was a false conversion. Yeah, that's a problem. That has to be verified. That would have to be verified. If I don't have any reason to verify anything, because generations are Jewish, there's no questions. No question. Definitely no question. We're not looking for issues. You know what they say? If it's not broken, don't fix it. There are no issues. Why would I look for issues? But how do you really know? Because we have a tradition. We have a tradition. The tradition is, if there's a problem, right? If there's somewhat of a problem, there's a question. You got to investigate. Makes sense, right? This is Logic 101, 101A. If there's a problem, investigate. If there's not a problem, what do I have to investigate? I have to do a whole lineage of my family. One of my kids gets married or I get married to make sure. No, I don't have to do that. Why do I have to do that? I don't have any reason to do it. When I got married here, I had to bring evidence. I was Jewish. How did I do that? I had a rabbi. I knew 5 generations of my family. Know them to be Jewish. Okay, now it's a different issue. 6th generation, big problem. Yeah, and even within the 5th generation, we got into marriage. Okay, but that didn't affect me. There's no issues. Why, again, why would I look for issues? Why do I look for problems? You're saying you want to make sure 100%. I don't need to do that. Why? Because we have what we call a chazaka. What's a chazaka? Something you know to be true. Something that, there are no issues with. So if there are no issues, why have to look for it? No reason for me to look for it unless, as we said before, unless there's an issue. If an issue comes up, you got to investigate. If I don't have any issues, doesn't seem to be any issues, no reason to investigate. That's not a cop-out. That's not a leniency. That's according to the law. Nothing to talk about. Everyone would agree. Everybody would agree across the board. There's no reason to investigate if you don't have to. We assume that everything's fine until it's not. Until there's an issue, I don't have to assume. Why do I have to assume there's an issue? Yeah, a lot of questions here. Somebody asked, explain me Torah reading Monday and Thursday. Yeah, I said that already. Yeah, mentioned before. There's a takana by Ezra. There's a what's it called? There's a decree. Ezra the scribe made a decree. What was the decree? The Gemara says, Baba Kama, tractate Baba Kama, one of the decrees he made was that the Torah should be read Monday, Thursday, and Shabbos. Yeah, 3 days. Why? Why Monday, Thursday? Because it shouldn't go 2 days without hearing Torah in public. Now, can I read the parsha in my house? Sure. Can I read it in the study hall? Sure. But there's an obligation to hear it with 10 men. Twice a week and on Shabbos. Women doesn't apply. Had someone once try and tell me, there's a positive command for women to go to the synagogue on Shabbos and hear the Torah. I said, well, there's quite a question whether, how many times a day a woman has to pray. Everyone agrees 1. Some say even twice a day. They have an obligation to pray. It's a mitzvah bound by time. So really, women are exempt. Well, they're not. They're not exempt over here, right? They should pray if they can, unless, they have little kids and they can't. They don't have time, whatever it is. But they should. Well, that being the case, even you want to tell me that, you want to tell me they have an obligation to go to synagogue on Shabbos to hear the Torah? It's a rabbinical decree at best. I mean, you can say, okay, it came from Ezra. Definitely came from Ezra, no question. Yeah, but you want to tell me that now I have an obligation to hear the Torah on Shabbos for a woman? A little bit much. And if it would be an obligation, women would have to pray, 3 times a day in the synagogue like men. They don't have that same obligation. They have different obligations. And if they would have the same obligation, say, well, I got little kids. What am I supposed to do? You find a babysitter. You work it out. But if you got an obligation, you got an obligation. But to have to go that far, come on. No one's going to say that. No one's going to say that. So there's an obligation to read for the following week a number of verses from the Torah Monday, Thursday. Why? Because you can't go 2 days without hearing it publicly. Now, someone's going to say, what about a woman? She doesn't have an obligation. If she wants to go to synagogue Monday and Thursday, hear the Torah, okay. Does she have an obligation? No. Men have an obligation. What if she wants to read it at home? Fine. What if a guy wants to read it at home? Also fine. One problem. Monday and Thursday, they have an obligation to be in synagogue and to hear the Torah there. And if they don't, okay. They lost out on the mitzvah. But they got an obligation to be there. It's a rabbinic obligation, but they have a rabbinic obligation to hear the Torah out loud from a Torah scroll in synagogue or wherever they read it. That's twice a week and on Shabbos. That's the obligation. Now, if there's also an obligation for men, all you men out there, all you JITs that are men, Jews in training, right? That there's an obligation to read the Torah twice, read the Parsha twice with the Aramaic translation. If you don't understand the Aramaic translation, you can read Rashi, right? Or another commentary. To understand, not just read it, but delve into it. Brisker Rav Yisrael Zev Salvation, God bless the memory, right? Once said, I don't understand. A person does that mitzvah for the guaranteed long life, so why don't people do it? Why do they just read it through and they don't really study it? They should. It's the base of Torah, base of all, everything we learn. Yeah, but at the end of the day, in public, twice a week, Monday, Thursday for men, they have to hear it in public. Person has a different schedule, they can't get there, okay. It's like prayer in general. You got to go to synagogue. There's certain things you can only do with 10 men. Yeah, there's an obligation to be there. That's why you got to live within walking distance of a synagogue or within distance. Within striking distance, certainly for Shabbos. During the week, okay, a person wants to drive further away, whatever, but you have an obligation to be there. You have an obligation to pray with 10 men, and it's much more beneficial. Why? Because if you pray by yourself, what happens? What happens? You get scrutinized much more than if you pray with a congregation, because basically everyone who prays has done sins. When you pray together as a congregation, God looks at it differently than if you're an individual. An individual, you got to pray that much stronger. God's going to scrutinize you more. Someone will say, well, what if I do that? Well, it's not good enough. You have an obligation to pray with 10 men if you're a guy. 3 times a day. You can have the greatest intention in the world. 3 times a day. Doesn't matter. God's going to scrutinize it like a fine-tooth comb. You want to be part of the congregation. You can't shirk that responsibility. Right? So I'll point out, someone will say, well, it's rabbinical. You're right. The obligation to pray is on the Torah level. To pray is on the Torah level. Everything else that I have to pray, what I have to say, when I have to say it, what times, what prayers, that's all rabbinical. Okay? But a lot of these prayers, remember, people forget this, and that is, a lot of them were written up by the men of the Great Assembly, 120 men of the Great Assembly. Who's included in that? So you can say they're only men. No. A number of people included in the men of the Great Assembly are prophets. Prophets are not mere men, not mere mortals. I mean, they are mortal, true, right? They're on a higher level than anyone else. There are different levels of prophets, that's not the point. So if the prophet is telling you this is what you have to say, What choice do you have? They're a prophet. Everybody knows they're a prophet. Nobody's saying they're not a prophet. Yeah, so you have to listen to them. Someone will say, but the rabbis say like this. So what would the rabbis say? You have to listen to them. It's an obligation to listen to them, period. Right, just like the Torah says. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17. Listen to the Kohen and the Levite in every generation. Who's the Kohen and the Levite? It's the rabbis in every generation, right? We mentioned that many times. And if they say left is right, right is left, you have to listen to them, otherwise you get death penalty. So people have a problem, they'll say, okay, I'll listen to this, I'll listen to that, but I don't like this. The person wants to pick and choose. That doesn't work. You get everything. You totally get everything. You don't like it? Go eat kugel. That's what you have to do as a Jew. Got to listen to what they say. Absolutely have to listen to what they say. Yeah. So that is why you're going to read some of the Torah on Monday, right? Same verses on Thursday. Then you're going to read the entire parsha on Shabbos. As we always say, you got to make sure you finish finish the entire Torah by Simchas Torah. Simchas Torah, you finish the Torah. You finish it in 1 year. So there are certain Torah portions you have to double up. Why do you have to double up? Right? Because otherwise, if you don't, there are too many parshas during the year. So you have to double some of them up in order to finish in a year. Right? There are different opinions. Some say you have to finish Torah in 1 year. Some say it's a 3-year cycle. We hold in the end, it's a 1 year cycle. Right? So there's certain Torah portions that are doubled up. Somebody asks, don't forget to leave a light. Yeah, that's good. Anyone who likes it? Yeah. Someone asks, I want to know why God rebukes Satan. The book of Job, Mr. S comes and says, God, what do you think of Job, my servant? So Mr. S says, come on, you give him everything. Gave him kids, gave him money, took care of all his needs. If you wouldn't, let me have some fun with him, he'll blaspheme against you. Right? And God says, no, he won't. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. So God says, fine, I'll let you do whatever you want, but you can't kill him. You're not allowed to kill him. What does that show? First of all, it shows that even Mr. S himself does not have free will. He can't do whatever he wants. You're not allowed to just take someone to take someone. God has to will it. Right? So people say, it's a fallen angel. No. Definitely not a fallen angel. Yeah. So what happened? Can't do whatever he wants. See proof from Job. Very beginning of Job. God says, okay, you can't kill him. So the question is, want to know why God rebukes him? Why shouldn't he rebuke him? He says things that he shouldn't say, let's say. Even though he's an angel, he's an accuser. Right? That's what he is. In other words, he'll go in front of God and say, what? This guy says, after his prayers, this guy says, God should answer all my prayers. Why should he answer all my prayers? Because I prayed very well. I prayed so well, God's going to answer my prayers. So what does God say? Let's open his file. Right? Mr. S says, hey, look at this guy over here. Right? He's an accuser. He's making accusations. Why are you helping him over here? Why aren't you doing this? He's asking questions. Well, to ask questions. Even though angel's supposed to be doing God's will, but he's called the accusing angel. He's called the accusing angel. So he stands in front of God a number of times, however it is, and he says, look at this person over here. Why don't you do this? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing the other thing? What does God say? Put him in his place. Right? Are all the times God going to do it? I don't know. I'm not up there. I can't say. Right? I've never been up, I've never been, my Rebbe would say, I've never met someone in that world to come back. But that's what's brought down. He accuses. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Let this happen. Let that happen. Let the other thing happen. You see that in the book of Job. He's an accusing angel. You say, but he's got free will. Doesn't matter. He's allowed to accuse. Now, God may shut him up. Yeah, look what he does by the snake. That was the evil inclination. No question if that he was reincarnated as the evil inclination, or the evil inclination was on top and speaking through the snake. Whatever it is. But God absolutely does rebuke him, 100%. Why shouldn't he rebuke him? You're going to say, but he's doing what God wants. He's testing man. True. Yeah, but why does the snake get cursed more than anyone else? Right? Man says what he wants from me. The woman, passed the buck. The woman did it. She gave me. The woman says, what do you want from me? The snake enticed me. God looks at the snake. God's upset. Why is he upset? Because he didn't want this to happen in the world. But he gave man free will. He let the evil inclination do what it does. So he had to go to plan B. Yeah. But it brought such destruction to the world, meaning that man has to die. Now you gotta say, this is very complex here, but doesn't God know? Right? One of the 13 principles of faith of the Rambam, of Maimonides, is God knows the thoughts of men. Doesn't he know man was gonna fail? He knows everything. Past, present, future. So he knew that. Okay. Did he want it to happen? He didn't want it to happen. But he allowed man to do it. So God said, okay, now I understand he's going to do this. So I have to make in the world plan B. Plan B was already there. What was plan B? Death. Should death have been created? It had to be created. 100% had to be created. Because God, God understood what was going to happen. Yeah, so you could ask a different question. Why did God allow it to happen? He could have stopped it. Could have stopped it 100%. Could have tied the snake up. Could have tied him up, shut his mouth, Adam and Eve having fun in the garden. That's it, the end of the world. Could have done that. But he put in the world this idea. Put in the world evil. Right? For man to be tempted by it. To do the wrong thing. Does God want man to do the wrong thing? Never. And the fact that the snake, enticed Eve to eat, had a good reason why. Right? Different reasons why and how he did it. Very good. Did God want Eve to succumb to this? No. Did he want her to give to Adam? No. But there's reality. What happened? He understood that was going to happen. Okay? But he still gave him free will. Right? Still gave him free will. So yeah, chastised him more than anything else. Why? Because look at the destruction. When was the only time, give a history question here, when was the only time the world came back to where it should have been before Adam and Eve sinned? That was by the giving of the Torah Mount Sinai. At that point, Mr. S now realizes Jews got the Torah. They're at the highest level the world has ever been since Adam and Eve. Now they go into Israel. That's it. It's over. Mr. S is done. He's finished. So what does he do? Medrash says he makes a picture in heaven and he shows Moshe Rabbeinu in a coffin. So everyone thought Moshe Rabbeinu died. So the Arab God, mixed multitude, whatever you want to call them, they make this golden calf. They make the golden calf. They say it's brought us out of Egypt. Blah blah blah. And then the world went back to where it was. And we've been living in that world ever since. Right? We're still waiting for the Messiah to come, but we're a very low generation. But at that point, that was the highest point the Jewish people had been since Adam and Eve ate from the tree. So now think about it. Mr. S says, wow, I'm on my last legs here. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So he came up with this great idea, the Medrash says. People made a mistake when Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to come. Aaron knew when he was supposed to come. So he tried to stall and this, and that's what happened. The whole story with the golden calf, which we're not going to get into. But there's a whole story there. Yeah, so, very quickly after the giving of the Torah, even though it's chapters later, which shows that the Torah is not in order, chronologically, what happens? You have the sin of the golden calf. Because Mr. S realizes what's going to be. What's going to be over here. I cannot let the world go to where it is now. I have to bring the world back to where it was before giving it the Torah. Otherwise, I'm out of a job. Otherwise, I get destroyed, as the Gemara says in Sukkah. I'll get destroyed. I don't want to get destroyed. Totally don't want to get destroyed. Not yet. I'm having too much fun. Not yet. Yeah. So he has this whole idea. That's what happened. Right? That's essentially what happened. So I hope that answers the question. He rebukes him because he deserves to be rebuked. Why can't God rebuke him? If he goes beyond what he's supposed to do. Meaning that, he got people to sin. That's not what God wants, but that's his job. Right? That's his job. Right? So here in the book of Job, easy to understand. God says, fine. You want to do all this stuff to him, I'll let you do it. You just can't kill him. You can't kill him. But he's always advocating for bad. Looking at the bad and everything, not the good. Because he can't look at the good, otherwise the job is over. Right? That's what he's here for. Does a great job, doesn't need me to agree. Someone here asks, I mostly hear people begging for Mashiach to come. We even have prayers in the Siddur. Okay. We have prayers that say, Ani Mami, right? I believe perfect faith that the Messiah is going to come, even if he delays, even if he tarries. Also heard that we shouldn't be wanting Mashiach now. Why? Because we don't want the judgment to come. Well, it seems to me we should desire. All right. So the whole question is, on the one hand, you're going to tell me, we pray, we say after prayers in the morning, or at least a person should, say 13 Ani Mami. Right? 13 Ani Mami, I believe in perfect faith. God's sole creator. God knows the thoughts of man. Coming to the Messiah, resurrection of the dead, all these things. Now, some people think, oh, Mashiach's going to come. I'll be out of debt. Everything will be good. Question is, it's going to be total destruction before Mashiach comes. Total destruction. Third of the world dies. Third of the world survives. Third is injured. Right? Total destruction. Right? We want the ultimate redemption. We want that the Jewish people should not be subjugated anymore, and that the righteous of the Jews or of the non-Jews are going to be part of this new world. And all the evil people get destroyed, whoever deserves to get destroyed. Resurrection is a whole different thing. A different time period. Yeah, but we're not really going to get into that. Point is, we shouldn't want the judgment to come. It's not a question of judgment coming. Right? I'll say like this. When we read the Haggadah on Passover, we have 4 cups of wine. Right? The rabbis learned out there are 4 languages in the book of Exodus that talk about redemption. Yeah. So they learn out from each word of redemption, we drink a cup of wine. So there's a 5th cup. What's the 5th cup? Elijah the prophet. So on the one hand, we're drinking the 4 cups because we're free. And we're showing our freedom by drinking the 4 cups. So redemption. Total redemption. Right? Coming out of Egypt. Very good. What about the 5th cup? Why do we have the 5th cup? Nobody drinks. Nobody drinks it for Elijah the prophet. What's the purpose of the 5th cup? Future redemption. So you're right. On the one hand, we don't want to get judged. On the other hand, we want to be redeemed. Problem is, people don't feel they need to be redeemed today. Well, they should really feel it more. People living in exile in the lap of luxury in different ways, some more, some less. They're living in big communities. There's plenty of Torah, plenty of mitzvahs, girls' schools, boys' schools, a lot of adult education going on, kashrus, all kinds of things. What am I missing? Missing the Messiah coming? What am I missing? I have everything. Exile's been good. Exile's been real good. Rabbi Wine once told the story, should be well. The rabbi in Miami was telling about Mashiach coming and going to Israel. One of his congregants said, Rabbi, that's great. I'm not going to Israel. I don't care if Mashiach comes. So I'm not going to Israel. So when Mashiach comes, he goes, I'm going straight to Miami Beach. So Rabbi Wine said, yeah, he wasn't kidding. Yeah. It's an exile mentality. Get everything. Get everything. Meanwhile, people live in America sitting ducks. And there was Jews in another place. And why aren't they running to Israel? Why aren't they running? Because they're used to it. What, I'm going to give up everything? Hey, someone once told me, I come to Israel. Wow, in the winter it's so cold. Right? It's very cold. Very drafty. This and that. I said, so you wear an extra sweater. The guy's going on and on and on and on. Finally, I said, when Mashiach comes, if you survive, you're not going to have an evil inclination. You're not going to care about the weather. You're absolutely not going to care about the weather at all. It's going to be a totally different world. You'll be doing God's will. Everybody will be doing God's will. You ain't going to care about the weather. But people have this crazy mentality. I'm going to stay in exile. We're going to stay in exile for. For what? Because it's easier? Listen, there are reasons to be in exile. Person, is making a living there. It's hard to make a living in Israel. That's true. The problem with the Arabs, got other things. Person allowed to live outside the land to get married. Or if they learn better. There are a handful of reasons why. Maybe the person has family obligations, right? They have to take care of the parents, they're older, whatever. There are reasons why not to come to Israel. Right, here's my Zionist flag here. There are reasons. There are reasons, but not everyone merits to come. I'm just pointing out there are people that have no interest in coming. I got a big house, I got a car, I got this, I got that. Not because of family and other things. They're not making that claim. They don't want to come. Why don't they want to come? They're living too good. But if you tell me they have good reason not to come, okay. I don't have a problem with it. They're learning better, fine. They need to be there, to find a marriage partner, different things, fine. But if it's not a legitimate thing, then there's a question why they don't come. There is a question. But again, that's why it's not an obligatory commandment that if you don't do it, you find out forever if you don't do it. It's a mitzvah if you can do it. From the Gaon never got it. From Chaim never got it. Other great rabbis never got it. They can't say it's a mitzvah that absolute obligation. If you don't, it's like you didn't put on tefillin today. It's not the same thing. Not the same thing. It's a mitzvah we call mitzvah kiyumis. It's a mitzvah if I can do it, if I can establish it. And if I can't, so what if you can't? Okay, so you didn't do it. The question is, the person could and they didn't. That's a different issue. That's a different issue. So we want the Messiah to come. You're right. It's going to be judgment, but we want to be redeemed. We want to be on the top. We don't want to be persecuted anymore. We want the ultimate redemption. What's the problem? Said Rav Chesko Bromsky, when Torah Giants, the last generation, was based in London. Came in at the end of his life, living in Israel. Certainly one of the Torah Giants, no question. He says, what does it mean to wait for the coming of the Messiah? Like, you're waiting for an important appointment. So someone's coming 9 o'clock. Yeah, that person is coming 9 o'clock. You're anticipating them coming. You're waiting for them to come. That's what it means. Not the fact that, I just thought about it, this and that. You have to want them to come. So on the one hand, you're right. It's going to be a lot of death, a lot of judgment. That's true. But we're not looking at that. We're looking to do whatever we need to do, right, spiritually, but at the same time, we want that ultimate redemption. And that redemption puts God in the map. Everybody knows he's God, so to speak, everyone doing God's will. Who doesn't want that? You're going to say, but there are a lot of birth pains to coming to the Messiah. True? Very, very true. Going to be a lot of pain, a lot of destruction. A lot of destruction. It's going to be real nasty. It's going to get worse before it gets better. You're going to say, how much worse could it get? Don't ask. It could get a heck of a lot worse. We don't want it. Yeah, but at the same time, that's going to lead to the ultimate destruction. Sorry, the ultimate redemption. There'll be a lot of destruction at the same time. Who is Job? Good question. Good question. Job, some say he was a righteous non-Jew. Some say he never existed. Right? So you're going to say if he never existed, it's one opinion. If he never existed, what was the point? So you have the whole story of Job to explain why bad things happen to righteous people. Suffering, that's the ultimate book. You're going to say, well, could God made a real person? Sure. Right? Seems like that he was, but there is an opinion that says he wasn't. That they wrote this book on this, this fictional character, so to speak, that it wasn't real. But in order to give over this idea about reward and punishment, about the, why bad things happen to righteous people, right? But I would say probably the prevalent opinion is that he was a person. This person who was he wasn't Jewish either, right? According to many opinions. What was behind Korach's jealousy? What was behind his jealousy? Jealousy, right? Well, that's not so hard to understand, except for the fact that he had mega wealth. He wasn't a fool. He carried the ark and he didn't die. It was on a very high level. But guess what? Jealousy can destroy a person. That's what the Mishnah says. Can destroy a person. Jealousy, honor, desire. So you see, even the greater the person, and he wasn't a fool. He saw who came out of him, who's going to come out of him in the future. Shmuel Navi, Samuel the prophet. But what did he get caught up in? I want to be Aaron Cohen. I want to be the high priest. I am just as valid as him. Yeah, but people have different jobs. That wasn't his job. He wasn't supposed to be that. How do I know? Because God said so. So how did he come out of Egypt? How did he see all the miracles? So what caused the jealousy? Says Ramosha Feinstein and Drash Moshe, commentary on Chumash, one of the Torah giants of the last generation in America, would have been Torah giant anywhere. And he says he didn't get the message. He did not internalize all the miracles and everything that happened. So therefore, he got jealous. But you're going to say, but he saw all the miracles. You're right. So I have a video on YouTube about Parshas Balak saying that even if God reveals himself to you, even to Bilam, this non-Jewish prophet who was total evil, but God spoke to him. So he's at a certain high level in that sense, even though he's into sorcery and other things. So my whole point in this video was, even if God reveals himself to you, doesn't make you righteous. You're going to say, God reveals himself? I'll give you an example of Achab. Good old evil King Achab. God comes to him, wants him to repent. So God says, okay, I'm going to take you and Ben Yishai. God says, me, you, and the son of Jesse. Who's the son of Jesse? King David. All three of us are going to stroll in Gan Eden in paradise. What does Achab say? Who goes first? Who goes first? What was God's answer? Ben Yishai. He's going to go first. He's going to take the first step. What does Achab say? I'm not interested. That makes sense? That's hard to understand. He wasn't a fool. Absolutely wasn't a fool. Got caught up in his own ego. God spoke to him, the Gemara says. And we're not doubting the Gemara here. God spoke to Achab telling him, we're going to go for a stroll in Gan Eden. Paradise. Can I trim? No. All right, not interested. Can I smoke? No. Like, who goes first? What do you mean? One of the greatest people ever created in the history of man, David HaMelech, King David himself. You're going to stroll with his soul in paradise? With God himself tagging along, so to speak? Just kidding. Right, God's going to the forefront. You want to tell me you're not going to be in that presence because your stupid mind's telling you, I want to go first? Ego, or ego, as we would say here in Israel. That's nuts. You would say Achab's the biggest idiot in the world. He wasn't. He's an unbelievable rabbinic scholar. In a lot of ways. How do you carry it on? So he asked question to Rav Ashi, the Gemara says, Rav Ashi is the one who put the Gemara together. So he asked Rav Ashi a certain question he couldn't answer. Rav Ashi didn't know. So Rav Ashi says, why, you're so brilliant. How'd you get caught up in idolatry? So Achav answered him. He said, if you would have been in my generation, you would have been running after its coattails. You would have been running right after it because that's the power. That was the power of idolatry. So going to say, but we can't imagine why people bowing idols. So let's think of it this way. What do people do to run after money? Bill Gates back in the day. What did Bill Gates say? Bill Gates says, he wants to be number one. He wants to stay number one. Doesn't want to be number two. He wants to be the best of the best, yeah? So according to him, he works 16, 18 hours a day, perfecting this, perfecting that, all kinds of other things. So Kaufman would say if we had that work ethic when it came to spiritual things, we would have been Torah giants years ago. A whole different mentality. Whole different mentality. Wants it more than anything else. So what happens? We're lazy. We're lazy. The ego. Being number one. Having the most money. The ego. Have a normal life. You want to make enough money? You get enough money to live 10 lifetimes. Even if you're going to give away a lot of it. Got plenty of money. Plenty of money. That's what you're living for. Right? The person runs after power. Fame. They run after these things. That's like idolatry. That's the idolatry thing. Food? Sure. Just see how people eat. Like they've never eaten a meal before. I mean, it's ludicrous. How much people eat, quantities, how much they're into like how it looks. It's also idolatry. It's not the same thing as bowing down to an idol, but they make it into something it's not. It's food. Even if I ate this great meal, it's not going to get gross. We know where it's going. After a certain amount of time, we know where it's going. Beautiful meal. Okay. People run after all kinds of crazy things. They give it power, it doesn't have. Right? So Achav over here, mega maniac, right? Egomaniac. God himself says, we're going to stroll in paradise together. How can you give up such an opportunity? How in the world, because of ego, you give up this opportunity? Because ego killed him. That's who he was. And he couldn't get over the fact, I'm not going first. And Bill, this evil non-Jewish prophet, God comes to him. He still wants to curse Jewish people. Mind-boggling idea. And he knows it's God. You don't like thinking, oh, maybe I ate something. Maybe I'm hallucinating. No, he knows 100% it's God. How do you go against that? Because the soul is corrupt, period. Soul is corrupt, that's how it works. Korach also didn't get the message. He wanted to be number one. He deserved it. Well, God said no. So then he started making fun. I mentioned a few weeks back, the Aruch HaShulchan in Siman 34 in Choshen Mishpat, Laws of Damages, Halacha 5. He says over there about giving testimony, he says you never make fun of the rabbis. You make fun of the rabbis, what's your status? You're evil. I'll testify for anybody. You're a heretic. You can't be included in a minyan, 10 men. Because you think you know better. Yeah? You don't make fun of them. Even if you don't understand what they say, you don't make fun of them. If they're legit. Fake rabbis, say whatever I want. That's never a problem. Totally never a problem. But if they're legit, and let's say even better, they're Torah giants, like my Rebbe would say. Hosel Bible says, anyone speaks Lashon Hara, you get all their mitzvahs. They speak Lashon Hara against you. The Rebbe would say, I can't wait. I'm going to get all these mitzvahs all these people spoke against. The friend of mine would say, you want their mitzvahs? No, you get all the mitzvahs. Right? I'm not even talking about a Torah giant, anybody. Speak Lashon Hara against someone else unless you repent. You ask their repentance. That they should be mochel you. They should forgive you. Yeah, otherwise they get all your mitzvahs. If you don't repent. Speak against a Torah giant or a Torah scholar in general. I mean, I'm talking bona fide. Someone who knows their stuff. They have to be the greatest rabbi of the generation. They know their stuff. They've learned. Yeah. They have that status of a rabbinic scholar. Spoke about a few weeks back. Yeah, which can be a lot of people today. A lot of people. Doesn't matter if they have rabbinic ordination or not. They can definitely have the status of a rabbinic scholar. You make fun of them. You say, what do I need these rabbis for? Oh, he's a fake. He's a this. Can't. Whatever. You're in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Aruch HaShulchan, again, when Torah giants the last generation, early 1900s, according to everybody, right? No one disagrees. Not Orthodox, not Chabad, not Hasidim, not Ashkenaz, not Sephardi. They all agree. You make fun of the rabbis. Yeah, you make fun of the rabbis, you're in trouble. You're a heretic, you're evil. You can never testify in a Jewish court, and no one will ever. You're not allowed to come, to be part of the 10 as part of a minyan for, in synagogue for prayer. That's pretty severe. I was telling someone today, telling someone earlier. Just imagine, certain great rabbis got made, that, people came out, religious people came out, destroyed them or tried to destroy them because of certain things they said or did. These people are in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Question like who would be kosher to testify today anyway? So I'm going through these, learning this, all these things. So that person's got to be careful. Again, if they're a heretic, different issue. If they're not a heretic, then a totally different issue. Totally different issue. So someone asks, we're obligated women to be at the synagogue to do the prayers Monday and Thursday. No. I didn't say you're obligated. You might only be obligated once a day to pray. Who says you have to hear the Torah? Person, if a woman doesn't have children, they have to deal with this and that. Should they go to synagogue? They can. I didn't say they can't. Don't want to be misquoted here. They certainly can. Are they obligated to? That's the question, right? Are you obligated? No. You're not even obligated to go on Shabbos. If they want to go, they want to hear the Torah on Shabbos, why not? They should go. I think they should go. Are they obligated to go? No, it's only for men. How many generations back did you say when the lineage is broken that no longer counts as being Jewish after intermarriage? Ooh. If it's broken, then you would have to prove, person would have to prove, if they don't have any solid proof, they have to prove either there's a marriage document, showing that, man was married to a Jewish woman, either grandmother, great-grandmother, which great-grandmother be probably hard to find, or even a great-great-grandmother. Right, grandmother might be easy to find, maybe. Or 4 generations buried in a Jewish cemetery. Right? That's if you can prove lineage. I'm going to tell you, and I've spoken about this before, even with DNA, in most cases, right? In most cases, DNA doesn't mean anything. Doesn't prove anything. Now, there could be cases that it does. I know a number of rabbinical court. You could have a file, you could have 180 pages, 200 pages. A friend of mine told me the story, a few different stories. A friend of mine also involved in conversion. He said there are a number of rabbinical courts, they wouldn't even look at the information. They wouldn't even look at the information because they hold it has no weight. They hold it has 0 weight. There was a case of somebody that they knew to be Jewish and there was evidence they lived among Jews. Even in that case, the rabbinical court did not want to take that at face value. Until that they really had to go through conversion. But that's a stronger case. Why? Because there were people alive at the time that knew them to be Jews in the community. Whether they kept Judaism or not, different issue. That's not even the point. Is that they lived there and they know they lived amongst Jews and known to be Jews. Even in that case, is what this person told me. Even in that case, the rabbinical court did not want to say they were Jews. Absolutely did not want to say they were Jews. And that's not a minority opinion. Most rabbinical courts, if not all, will say the same thing. Unless there's really, really compelling evidence. But DNA doesn't prove anything. Doesn't really prove anything, and we don't hold by it. If there's other evidence with that, maybe. But DNA by itself is nothing. It's definitely nothing. So in order to prove, let's say it's a broken lineage, which we mentioned, you need to prove 4 generations. 3 to 4 generations. Buried in a Jewish cemetery or a marriage certificate, Jewish marriage certificate. Most people are not going to be able to prove either, usually. I know of a case, probably one of the best students I ever had. This person probably 100% was a Jew. Probably there was nothing to talk about. Her husband wasn't. Well, this woman, most likely was Jewish. Most likely was Jewish. No evidence. But even in that case, where it was compelling, or was compelling enough, no rabbinical court told this woman, you can't, you're not allowed to desecrate Shabbos. She had to desecrate Shabbos. In either case, it did, she would have had to go through, convert. She would have been a problem anyway because her husband has no Jewish lineage, never had Jewish lineage. So if you're going to say she's Jewish, now you get a problem. Now you get a serious problem. Yeah, so it's better in that sense to be a non-Jew and then you do everything together. But if not, what if someone wants to marry someone? Let's say someone wants to marry someone. They're busy digging. Yeah. Now let's say they find out. Someone out there says that they're Jewish. They got evidence. Let's say someone, rabbi comes out, rabbinical comes out and says, okay, you have good enough evidence. Let's say. Hard for me to imagine, but let's say it happens. Yeah, now what? If you say you're Jewish and I want to be with this non-Jew, that non-Jew has to go through conversion. It doesn't help you. Totally doesn't help you. Why doesn't it help you? You can't be with a non-Jew. If you're really Jewish, yeah, anytime you're intimate with a non-Jew, Torah prohibition. The Torah prohibition doesn't help you. Just the opposite. Better to learn more and more and more about Judaism. So then you're not going to make mistakes. And now if you're Jew now it's all for real. Yeah, I'm not saying the person should, if they want to look into lineage, let them look into it. In most cases, I'm going to tell you from experience and other people I've spoken to, other rabbis I've spoken to, no rabbinical court in general is going to look at this. They're not going to look at it. So it's better not even to bother. You want to look into it afterwards? Okay. Yeah, it's a different issue. Yeah. But without DNA, there has to be compelling evidence. It has to be compelling evidence. And there's not compelling evidence. DNA is not going to help. Or, even if there is compelling evidence, still probably not going to help. Right? So I don't want to be misquoted here. Right? So, is it going to be every single rabbinical court? I would think so. Someone that took a DNA test, they're not going to care. They're not going to care. They don't want to look into it. They don't want the aggravation, this, that. They don't want it. And you can bring a portfolio, 200 pages, 800 pages, 900 pages, this, that. Most rabbinical courts, they won't even open it. Again, person wants to do it, okay. Then someone's going to prove me wrong and say, yeah, this rabbinical court says okay. Okay. I'm telling you, most won't. They won't even look at the information, is what this person told me. They won't even look at the information. Period. Will there be rabbinical courts that will? Could be. Could be. I don't think so. I definitely don't think so. But it doesn't prove anything. Definitely doesn't prove anything. I'm not saying the person can't do it. You want to do it, okay. It's your choice. It's your choice. If someone comes to me and say, should I do it? They want to. If they want to. Would I ever investigate for somebody? No. I won't have anything to do with it. There's plenty of other issues to deal with. Not, better than convert. You want to look into it, look into it. It's not going to be on my head because nobody holds of it. Mostly nobody holds of it. I'm not going to say everybody, but you ask any Orthodox rabbi, they're going to, I'm not going to say they're going to laugh. They might. They'll be nice. They'll be nice and say, okay, you want to look into it? Doesn't have any weight. Doesn't have any weight at all. Some people may be more sympathetic and say, yeah, look into it. I'll help you. Okay. You know, it's a dead end. Most cases, they're all dead end. So you got to convert anyway. So what? So you go through conversion. And then there are no doubts. But I would say, someone wants to go through it, and let's say there's compelling evidence, and they find a basin or a rabbi to say that, yeah, enough evidence to say that you're Jewish, you darn well better get it in writing. You better get it in writing. If you don't get it in writing, whenever that person, God forbid, dies, yeah, you can do it. Person wants to do it. But you're going to hold on to that for dear life. Because that's your genealogy, that's your pedigree. Okay. But if you don't get it in writing, person comes into a community, they don't know what they're doing. There's nothing to say, you're Jewish, to say, yeah. But you darn well better tell them the story, what happened. Otherwise, you're misleading them. You have to tell them, said, yeah, I did this or that. And such rabbi said, I'm Jewish. Said, who? Yeah. That's why, someone converts, they get this piece of paper, that says that they're Jewish, you photocopy it 100 times. I don't know, 100. Put it wherever you're going to put it, online where it's safe or whatever, in case, God forbid, you lose it. Yeah, you want that. By the base, then it's on file also. Right? Just keep that in mind. But it's something pretty important you don't want to lose. Yeah. Why did Hashem point Job out? Because Job was one of the righteous generation, right? If he existed. Yeah. So God said to Mr. S, look at my servant Job over here. Look what he does. Look how great he is. Look how he serves me. So, because he was somebody, of means, he had money, right? His kids were all going in the right direction, right? He had all these good things going on. So Mr. S says, come on, if he's poor and he's having difficulty and he's suffering, not going to point him out. I mean, could have pointed him out also. Even if he suffers, and look what I put him through, or what he put himself through, he still prays to me 3 times a day. He still never blasphemes. So what could Mr. S say in that case? You didn't work him hard enough. Let me work at him. I'll break him even more. Yeah, maybe. But God takes someone who's successful, has everything. So then Mr. S says, oh, really? He's so good. Let me have some fun with him. Then he'll blaspheme. Yeah, that's why he picks out Job. Not going to pick out some person that's, some unrighteous person or whatever. You're going to pick out someone like, at the top. Someone who's, very righteous and still keeping Torah mitzvahs at a very high level and all this, right? So Mr. S says, yeah, because you gave him everything. Look how successful they are. Very good. He said he won't blaspheme me anyway. So Mr. S says, let me take a crack. Let me work at it. Someone asked, that's what I would say. The first tablets were broken in the second. Yeah, there was a difference. You look, the wording is different. You look at just the difference in Shabbos. What it says about Shabbos is different. Yeah, there are differences. There are differences in what was written there. I mean, commandments are the same. It's just, different how it's written. Someone asked, most of the world, including Jews, are not ready for Mashiach. Of course they're not ready. Right? Who's ready? Who's ready? People say they're ready, but yeah, you're right. Probably a lot of people are not. So shouldn't we be praying that Shem will help us be prepared? Sure. But what, I'll tell you what my Rebbe would say. Someone asked him this question. He would say, learn, do tshuva, learn books of Musar, do as many, learn as much Torah and do as many mitzvahs as you can, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. Whatever your obligations are, do as much as you can. That's how you prepare. Yeah, I would say, you got to prepare, certainly Musar, no question. Jewish philosophy, how to look at the world, put everything together and prepare. But that's what, that's what we have to do. We have to prepare 100%. But he would say, fine, learn a little more Musar. Learn a little bit more ethics. Yeah. Learn Shar Bitachon, gate of Emunah and belief in God and duties of the heart. Yeah, make it real. Make every action you do real. That's how you prepare. That's how you draw closer. Right? You take 8 steps forward. You try not to sin at all. That's what you have to do. That's how hard you have to work. That's how you prepare. That's what I would say. And the nations will know Hashem, right? Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Right? And whoever is righteous in the nations will survive. Someone asked, they're good jealousy. Yeah. When it comes to Torah scholarship. That type of jealousy, a person is jealous of what somebody knows. Different synagogues. Okay. You got a synagogue here, you got a synagogue right down the street, another around the block, this and that. Different types, obviously within the same umbrella, of Torah mitzvahs. So jealousy of what somebody knows and how righteous they are, that's good. Why is that good? Not that you're looking for their faults and this and that, so you want to usurp them, you want to go above them. No. What are you jealous of? The Torah knowledge they have. That's a good jealousy. Yeah, not everything else is bad, right? But that's brought down among the commentators. That's a good jealousy. To be jealous of what somebody knows. To be jealous of, wow, look at this person, overcame so much. Say, wow, I wish I could do that. That's not a bad jealousy, right? But normally jealousy is bad, right? So I gave a few examples that, where it could be good. Story, Eliezer and Gamliel. How do they excommunicate such tzaddikim? One second. You have to tell me the source for that. It says that they told Hashem to mind his own business. Yeah, you have to source that for me. Talking about DNA, all that's evidence as far as back 4 generations. Yeah, so the evidence is, again, either a marriage document, Jewish marriage document, that would show, whether a grandmother, great-grandmother, or something like that, or 4 generations buried in a Jewish cemetery. Right? Now, someone's going to say it's impossible to find conversos, or we're going to call B'nai Anusim, these people that, were Christian on the outside and Jewish on the inside or whatever, right? Buried in a Jewish cemetery, right? It's going to be hard to find, unless they're not. Unless they just didn't, they didn't tell their kids they were Jewish or whatever. But you're right, it's going to be hard to find. Either of these cases is going to be almost impossible. And anyone who comes, that I come in contact with that ask about evidence and this and that, usually just about 100%. I haven't found anyone that's been able to produce it. Right? So I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's very rare. It's very rare if it would. Because then there's other evidence. Maybe you could join to it as well. But in general, it's going to be, you're right. If they're converso, it's going to be very hard. Very, very hard if you come from, let's say, from Spain or that part of the world. It's going to be very hard. True? Right? And even if people come to America, whatever, it's going to be hard. No, yeah, that's for sure. So I say, a person wants to look into it, let them look into it. But even if they think they have evidence, yeah, a lot of times they won't find it. Impossible? I'm not going to say impossible. Very improbable. Very improbable. Right? If I say it's 100%, someone will say, see, this person did it, so you're wrong. Right? So I'm not going to say it's 100%, but it's pretty close. In just about 16 years I've been doing this, I came in contact with a number of people. Even, this family that, this woman who was probably Jewish. Yeah, she couldn't produce it. I haven't found anyone who's been able to do it. So, someone will break the mold and say, yeah, I did it. And I was accepted. Okay. Is it probable in today's day, even with all these different websites and different things? It's probable. But I always say, I would bet all the money I don't have and say, no, it's not going to happen. And I'd say it's a higher than 95% chance it's not going to happen. I think it's even higher than that. It's close to 100%. I haven't found people that do it. Because they haven't come in contact with so many people. I come in contact with enough. Right? Take a random sample. You have all the people I come in contact in the last 16 years, zero. Zero. So, I'm not going to say it's zero. It's pretty close, though, in general. What's better, conservative synagogue or modern Orthodox? Depends what type of modern Orthodox synagogue. Conservative, you can't walk into. Can't have anything to do with the conservative synagogue, even if they're quote-unquote traditional. Can't have anything to do with it. Yeah, Reform, nothing to talk about. Modern Orthodox depends. The modern Orthodox people, synagogues are going to welcome gays. You want to have anything to do with that? You get what you don't pay for. You go to these places, they're more non-Jews than Jews there. I don't mean by intermarriage. I'm saying by Jews, they act like non-Jews. Yeah, they go to ball games, they do other things. They're going to say outdoor Orthodox community? No, it's not the same. Not even close. What they do in the private homes, I can't say, right? I would hope. A lot of people on the up and up, a lot of people I know are. Yeah, people say, well, I know this person, that person, they do this, they do. Okay. Yeah. There are exceptions to the rule. They may dress the part, but they may do other things that are wrong. Okay. Yeah. But the vast majority, I would say, they're not going to ball games, not listening to ball games. Some of them are, could be. Vast majority, high majority. I think 90% of outdoor Orthodox Jews are going to ball games and watching movies. I don't think so. You can tell me there are people that do it and kids that do it, and okay. Right? You want to tell me it's 60%? No. 40% of people doing that? That's no. You want to tell me it's 10%? Maybe it could be. It could be a lot more people than I think. Right? But if someone's really growing, Torah mitzvah, not doing this stuff. They're fighting against it or whatever. They're not doing it. The modern Orthodox synagogue, that's why I left. That's exactly why I left the modern Orthodox movement. Because they had 2 feet in the secular world, a quarter of a foot in the Jewish world. They'll say it's important to learn, it's important to keep Shabbos, this and that. But they're busy doing all kinds of other things. They're bad. What good comes out of going to ball games? They say, well, what's so wrong with it? A lot of things wrong with it. Besides being just a waste of time. The values are bad. I saw it when I was much younger. Before I was married. I played in, 2-in-touch football. I got so disgusted by seeing, and these were more Orthodox kids. They weren't ultra-Orthodox kids. Yeah. I was more Orthodox at that time. I got so disgusted by the way people played. Not that, they're doing things illegally and this and that. Showmanship, ego, different things. Acting like how professional athletes can act. I'm not going to say they all act like that. But how they act. I was nauseated. That was it. I couldn't stand being around these people. Say, but, they're busy learning and this. Okay, so what? So they act like the lowest element on a ball field, showing up other people. You know how many transgressions they're involved in? Speaking down to people. Forget what they're saying. Nivell peh, cursing, other things. It's all showmanship. I'm not going to say everybody's like that. I saw enough to say it was nauseating. I stopped. So I can't be part of this. I left that world. Good for exercise, yeah. But I left that world. I don't want anything to do with it. I had someone who played basketball in college. Played in Europe. Played with whatever, Division 3. I think it's Division 3 in America. Played in Europe, played here. So I asked this person. I said, what was it like playing with these people? I said, what kind of language and different things? He's like, don't even ask. Just forget it. I'm not going there. Not going there. Look who you're dealing with. I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm not going into the whole, sociologically and what happens and all that. Look who you're dealing with. You're not gonna you're gonna convince them, and they're gonna talk better and be more moral and different things. I don't think so. They're gonna do whatever they want to do, and you're sitting there. You just happen to play. You just happen to be a good player. Okay. But what are you gaining from them? I'm not saying everybody's so bad, but I guarantee what people talk about in language is enough. It's enough. Forget about Shabbos, other things. Yeah? Just the character traits. Person wouldn't even go into it. I wanted to hear. Why did I want to hear? Because I know how bad it is. I know how bad it is. If you follow sports, you know what people do. You know what they say. You know how they act. Right? How many times in the NFL and, in the off season, people get shot at in strip clubs, other things. Again, I'm not going to say everybody, but every single year there are things that happen. People get shot at, all kinds of things. All kinds of things. This stuff in everyday news. You can look it up. It happens every year. Every year, sometimes more, sometimes less. What am I gaining? What are you following these people? Their character traits are horrific. They're horrific. You're going to say, I don't care. I just want to see them play ball. So that's what most people would probably say. Someone just got suspended, I heard. Someone told me. Someone just got suspended because a number of times they made videos with it, had a gun. Just playing around with a gun. You guy, an idiot. We're making videos of it. They got suspended for a whole year. I think, what do you get, 25 games? Something like that. That's who you want to emulate. Like, how he shoots a ball. What he does to his body and this and that. That guy goes around making videos with guns. Oh, it's a fake gun. What are you making videos for? You want to do it, at least don't make a video about it. Or don't get caught in these places. The football player a number of years ago, just I'm on this topic. Yeah, they have a video. A guy was, I was in a hotel, I think. They have a video. This guy sucker punched his girlfriend or fiance. Oh, I don't think it was fiance after that. Yeah, got him on video. That's it. Guy was finished. Finished. Never played another game. Ruined his whole career. No, I'm not advocating beating up women and obviously punching women. Yeah. But if God forbid you don't do that, don't do it where cameras are around. I'm not saying you should do it. Don't misquote me here. I'm not saying it should be done, for goodness sakes. If you do it in a place that's private and no cameras around. Killed him. Absolutely killed him. There are other stories. I could be here until tomorrow telling stories. You're gonna say, I don't care. I want to see him, run with the football. I want to see him do this. How do you differentiate? How do you differentiate? Character traits are everything. Yeah. And if a person learns Torah, the quote unquote a rabbi, whatever, they don't have good character trait, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. It means the learning doesn't go in. Doesn't mean they're perfect. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. But if you don't exemplify what you learn, right, that's what happened to Korach. Exactly what happened to Korach. He didn't get the message. How did he not get the message? He saw the miracles. He didn't get the message. Was he stupid? No. Gemara says he wasn't a fool. Gemara says all those great character traits that he had. Got caught up in jealousy. Even the best of people get caught up in jealousy. But to emulate these people can shoot a ball or hit a bat, or bat a ball, whatever, or throw a football. You think these guys are Rhodes Scholars? They're not Rhodes Scholars. Some of them are. A lot of them are not. Learning from them? I asked somebody, just tell me something. Give me a snippet. Wouldn't even, nothing. He's like, we're not going there. I go, just tell me one thing. I want to hear one thing. No. Person understood. Of course it's bad. There's no question. I can make a lot of money, this and that. Okay, let's say you didn't have a Shabbos problem. Yeah, your character traits. You got to learn from these people, 100%. You got to go with them where they go. You hold morals, a lot of people don't. Finished. Absolutely finished. Absolutely finished. Yeah, let me see if there are any other questions here. Yeah, monolithic synagogue. We step back. The rabbi was replaced. spiraling out of control. Am I surprised? No. Because I saw it, I came from it. That's where I became religious. I have a lot of gratitude, right? But I see what some people I went to yeshiva with, what they're doing in modern Orthodox synagogues. God should have mercy on them. Bringing a pastor to speak. We go to hear a pastor in another place. Interdenominational stuff. Come on. All ultra-Orthodox rabbis, great rabbis of the last generation held this forbidden. Nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about. Across the board. You don't give them a platform. Across the board. How can they do it? Thank God I'm not there. God should have mercy on them. God should absolutely have mercy on them. Yeah, spiral out of control. It's nuts. Some of them. I'm not saying all of them. Some of them. Some, you got somebody in Florida brings a, brings a, what do you call it? What do you call it? Not a messianic, a missionary. Brings a missionary to give a motivational speech. We got paid $20,000, $30,000. He said, I would have done it for 10, 5, 3. Yeah, brings in Dr. Ruth. Right, missionary, thank you. Yeah, brings in Dr. Ruth. Yeah, maybe she spoke about her, I don't know, spoke about her Holocaust experience, maybe. Bring a sex therapist to speak about. That's not a bit much. It's ludicrous. Again, are most people like that? No, definitely not. But at the same time, you're gonna have half a brain also. Sometimes the brain's just a terrible thing. The mind's just a terrible thing, not just a terrible thing to waste. Right? Like that old commercial years ago. Teaching people, wanted this commercial, they want, people to read more. So they say mind's a terrible thing to waste. That was a commercial. I say everything got quicker today. Just say now mind's a terrible thing. The person says, I have rabbinic, permission to do this, bring this missionary in. He's not a top 10 tier missionary. Yeah, but I can't say who it is because the person doesn't want me to reveal his name. Yeah, of course. Because they're going to tar and feather this person. They're going to say you're an absolute moron. What are you telling someone to bring in a missionary? Yeah, revoke his rabbinic ordination. Idiot. Absolute idiot. Okay, the Torah giants, an idiot. Well, missionary to come and speak in front of the synagogue, right? Want to watch my video on that? What's bogus in Boca Raton? Yeah, that was my video, 8-minute video, screaming. And so one of the things I said, I'll just cut to the chase. One of my great lines is, I wouldn't let this person speak out of a toilet. I don't care if he's in the bathroom, I wouldn't let him open his mouth. Bring him in the synagogue? For goodness sake, they're going to pay him $50,000. $50,000. Jewish community was going to pay. To say, couldn't find any great Jewish speakers for a lot less. Could have flown in a lot less. I got rabbinic supervision says okay. Well, that person's an idiot. I don't care who they are. They're an idiot if they did it. If they said it. There's nothing to talk about. So the person says, yeah, I can't reveal who it is. Of course you can't reveal. Of course you can't reveal because they'll kill this person. They'll malign them online everywhere. Nothing to talk about. Of course you can't mention it. Doesn't want his name mentioned. Makes perfect sense. You're not saying he doesn't have it. Let's say he does, right? I'll give him believability for one thing. Let's say he does. He's got a top rabbinic authority, to rely on. Yeah, let's see. Bring him out to the public. Let's see. Shred him. Shred him. Like no tomorrow. How can a person do it? You gotta ask them. It's insanity. Yeah. Anyway, other questions. Someone here says, yeah, tolerance really gotten out of control. Sure. But you can't say anything. You say something, they'll toast you. Right? That's why I'm not a rabbi of a synagogue in America. I'd be in trouble. I'd be in serious trouble. Because I just let it rip. People don't like it. My people say, go eat kugel. But then they say, no, it's discriminatory. Then they take you to court and say, hey, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, I'm this, I'm that. You have to let me in. Then you shut down the synagogue. That's what you have to do. Can't give any legitimacy to it. But at the same time, okay, so you got to be a little bit politically correct. What do you do in such a case? Okay, more complex, definitely more complex. But yeah, it's insane is the word. Insane is the word. I would definitely agree. Yeah, any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. Just every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on the Torah portion of the week, Q&As, Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers, controversial issues, or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN@gmail.com, whichever good, beginning of the day, middle of the day, or almost end of the day, depending where you are, and everyone have a great rest of the week.